Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for having us. I feel like we're on the set of Oklahoma the Musical, which feels great, or Longhorn Steakhouse, which feels awesome too. But the elephant in the room is we were going to have Toni and Ryan here today.
Yep.
Toni, unfortunately, broke her foot in LA and
what have
moved
you
to
done?
Dallas. I know.
Okay, yeah, so you understand. So
Yeah.
Toni was at an Airbnb with me in Los Angeles on Thursday and fell down the stairs and broke her foot. So she's been shipped back to Australia. Unfortunately for all of us, she is definitely the funny one of our podcast. So we're now stuck with me for a boring 30 minutes of nerdy chat.
Great. It's a good one-on-one. We'll
Yep.
go with it. Thank you for still attending. But yeah, I mean, this panel today, we're really unpacking this phenomenal trajectory that your podcast has had over the past 5 years, really.
You
or
turned
4 years.
4 last week.
Yeah, congratulations. And you've done that
Thank
in
you.
so many different ways by embracing video, leveraging social media, really transforming these like viral moments into a massive fandom and following. We're gonna save room for questions at the end so you can ask Ryan directly just about that growth. But just in terms of accolades, I just want to list off some like amazing stats. You were the People's Voice Award for Best Comedy Podcast Episode at the Webbies this past year, 2024's Listener Choice Award for the Australian Podcast Awards. You have a combined social following of 5.4 million between TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube. And then you have 700,000 monthly listens in the US, which is a major achievement really for any podcast, but especially a podcast that's based in Australia too. When you started Toni and Ryan, did you expect it to have this reach and this notoriety? Yeah.
No, so for people that don't know the Toni and Ryan podcast, Toni, who I work with, she is an audio engineer by trade. She's a producer, and she was clearly the funniest person at a radio station that I worked at in Melbourne. And so I said, I will pretend to be your co-host so we can make a demo, so we can send the audio to the radio companies,
Right.
hopefully get you a job, because you're too funny to be an audio engineer. No offense to audio engineers in the room. But we recorded the audio and we recorded the video, and I was editing it, and we were like, this is pretty funny. I think
good.
if we've gone to the trouble of recording it, we might as well pop it on TikTok, and it goes off on TikTok, and someone goes, oh, this is great. Is there a podcast? And we go, oh, no, thank you. What a compliment. But after the 20th person said, where's the podcast link?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do this. And so the honest truth of did we expect it to be this successful? Really, we were just trying to get Toni a job. And luckily for me, she hasn't got one yet. So now we just have to do this. So
Love it. In terms of looking in those early days and that first year of growth, you mentioned TikTok and Reels and things like that. What were some tactics that you used in that first year that really impacted your growth the most?
well, because at first we weren't in our minds a podcast, we were just making clips, which means we were just very aware of what's going to make a good reel, what's going to make a good TikTok, and thinking about that before we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are in the trap of we do a podcast and then give it to the digital guy and hopefully he can try and make a TikTok out of it, versus saying what will actually make a good TikTok, let's do that.
Yeah.
So we were it wasn't like a strategy, it just felt like the right thing to do because we were just making videos at the time.
Right.
And we post a lot of videos and replied to all of the comments, and if anyone said something nice, we would reply to them and say something nice back, and just were really appreciative of anyone that wanted to listen. And I think us just feeling really stoked that anyone would listen, they kind of feel that we're pumped and they're pumped, and it's worked pretty well.
Following that too, and I guess this is a good kind of question for you, for anyone that may not be familiar with your podcast. How would you explain the final form of your podcast as it exists right now to someone that hasn't listened yet? What is the Toni and Ryan podcast?
So it's in the comedy section, and we're both from commercial radio. So while it doesn't sound like commercial radio, there's those natural discussions that is everyday life, shows we're watching, snacks we're eating, things we're fighting with our respective partners about. And I think a lot of people it's more the influencer space than podcast, but it's sort of like a I'm so great, look at me, come to me for my advice, but we don't see ourselves as any higher than our audience. We're on the same level. We've got the same problems and stresses that they've got and vice versa. Yeah. And so I think staying on the same level as our audience is not just like good for biz, but it's actually A, where we live. We're not pretending to be anything we're not. And B, that's sort of how we think about content choices and going, oh, what's going to affect the lives of our audience as well as us?
Yeah, and I think you've done a great job of really just meeting the audience that you have, wherever they may be. I think there's so much pressure on podcasters today to be 360-degree creators, multi-platform, multi-channel, every single medium represented. And I feel like you guys have done that from the beginning in a really real way. Kind of looking at those changes from solely just audio to audio and social and video kind of combining as one. How has your approach changed within that ecosystem shift, if it has at all?
The output would have changed, but the theory hasn't changed, because if something works, we just do it again. And if it works again, then we do it again. And if we do something that doesn't work, then we don't do it again. I mean, it sounds really dumb and basic to sit on a stage and say that, but you'd be surprised how many times people have a viral moment and then go back to what they were doing and, oh, what's another version of that? Do that again.
Right.
And we've tried a lot of things and it doesn't work, and we go, okay, and on to the next. And if it does, do it again.
Yeah. When you look at the short form video platforms between YouTube, Reels, TikTok, is there a change in strategy that you use between those different platforms? Or is there kind of, like you said, that experimentation of seeing what works and then doubling down on when it does work and then changing when it doesn't?
We're about to hire someone who this is going to be their job, but we've had some videos that we've posted on TikTok that have done 10 million views. And then we posted on Instagram Reels and it flops. And then sometimes it pops off on one and not the other, and sometimes it's normal to go, oh, I posted it and it didn't work, so maybe it's a bad video, but maybe it's just, whilst they look very similar apps and a similar user experience, like for some reason the algorithm gods will, do their thing in different strange ways. So
totally.
We just put it out everywhere, and again, if these go better on YouTube Shorts, then we'll keep putting those out and stuff like that.
You mentioned earlier too of kind of keeping your community and their feedback always top of mind. I think now's probably a good time as any to talk about the tarpers. In the U.S. to translate, I mean, Rihanna has the Navy, Beyonce has the Beehive, Taylor Swift has the Swifties, and Toni and Ryan have the tarpers.
I wouldn't have put us in the sentence with those people.
I would. I think they're at that level, truly.
But a tarper is a Toni and Ryan podcast, and anyone who listens is a tarper. That was actually coined by a tarper who just said, oh, I don't know what we are, I'm just going to say tarper, and then we just went with it, and it stuck. But in our business structure, I mean, obviously we're a small business and don't have a big corporate hierarchy, but the tarpers are actually at the top. That's who we work for. We work for them. So if they like to be able to watch it and not just listen, then we'll put it on YouTube so they can watch it. If they like us doing live streams in Patreon, we'll do more live streams in Patreon because we work for them. And I think even just being in the room today and listening to a few chats and looking at the schedule, there's a lot of how do I grow my audience, how do I monetize my audience, but there aren't many chats that are like, how do we like serve our audience so fucking well and give our fans the best fan experience we possibly can. And I mean, do it for the wrong reason. It works out in the long run. If you treat your audience really, really well, like, I want to get more, but what about the people you've already got? And so we spend most of our time trying to super serve the tarpers.
I think listening to your podcast too, the tarpers are really woven into the fabric of every single episode that you publish. There's a section at the beginning where you have a reel of different tarpers around the world that are introducing
Every
themselves.
episode starts with a tarper somewhere in the world saying, hi, my name is, I'm from this town and I approve this episode. So it's like, we'll not do an episode without it being approved.
Listener confessions, like the normal or not segment, like I think those are amazing and just like so foundational to what your podcast is all about. But then you've also done like amazing community activations, live events. Can you talk about like how you've been able to scale up to that level too?
Well, earlier this year, I tried to buy Toni and myself 2 tickets to the cricket, but I accidentally bought 2 bays, which was 1,700 seats. And I said, accidentally. And I said, because they're in Toni's name, you can come for free, use the tickets, we've already paid, but you have to dress up like Toni. Who always wears a blue denim jacket and a stripy t-shirt. So 1,500 people came to the cricket. There's sort of, you look across, there's just cricket fans, and then who the fuck are those guys? And it was the Bay of Tonys. And, you know, that cost us a fair bit of money to accidentally buy 2 bays at the cricket. But it's like, for us, that's the same as investing in a marketing campaign. We're investing in our audience and giving them a great experience. And not only do we get to meet them, we stood up and took a photo with everyone, but they get to meet each other. You know, I met this person on the train and I knew they were coming to your event because look what they're wearing. They're wearing the same costume. And we had a boat party for our tarpers in Vancouver last weekend, and a bunch of them met in Calgary and flew together and then shared a taxi from the airport, and they didn't know each other the day before. So we kind of keep turning up, giving them a fun experience, and the more they enjoy it, the more they'll keep listening, and the more they keep listening, the more we get to keep doing our job. So
we mentioned this earlier too, but you have a really fabulous, super engaged following in the US and North America and in Canada as well in particular. Yeah. Is there a reason why that is? Or a way to explain it? Or?
At first we were like, the comedy was very crass and not family friendly, but we did record it in a radio studio. And I think the TikTok algorithm found its way into the US, and there was a lot of like, Australians do some weird shit on their shows down there. Like, I can't believe you say that on a real show. I don't know what a real show means, but oh my God, I can't believe you do that on a real show. Australia's crazy. These are my Australian friends. Tell me about Australia. It seems like a fun time. And so the TikTok algorithm did its thing. And it's also interesting, if we start reading out lots of comments and telling stories from people from Dallas, they tell their friends, oh, I was on this podcast, you should listen. And so if we only read comments and replied to people in Australia, we would probably have an Australian-only audience. But if you share stories from tarpers all around the world, read comments, reply to comments, then, you know, the audience ends up being, you know, pretty vast. So we're 33% Australian, I think 32% US, Canada's really strong, the UK is really strong, and then a sprinkling. It's actually fun in the back end of Acast. I go down to the bottom and go, oh, the 162nd most popular country was the Maldives. If you're one of the 3 people that listened in the Maldives this week, take a photo and send it to us. It's like my favorite nerdy thing to do. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, now everyone's favorite topic too is ad sales, I think, in some ways, right?
So everyone loves ad sales.
Everyone loves ad sales, but I think you've obviously done an amazing job of creating this community, this fandom, stretching off all different reaches of the globe, including the Maldives. Yeah. But thinking about how you monetize that following, or I should say like offering an advertising offering that is personal and authentic and matches with like the brand that you've created and the story that you're creating with Toni and Ryan.
Yeah.
How has that process been of introducing the advertising element into your podcast?
Well, Toni and I are fans of stuff. We love watching the new show that comes out. KFC's got a new burger. Fuck yeah, let's go try it. We don't have favorites. We love everything. And so when a new product or a brand says we've got a new show, like, we'd probably be watching it anyway because we love all stuff. We don't have favorites. We just are fans of things. Yeah. And so, like, that's not for any, like, strategic sales reason, but it's actually so easy when a brand says, there's a new show on Amazon that the Amazon Canadian team's really trying to push. Great. Give us a login. We'll watch it and we'll tell you all about it. And so we do a lot of campaigns. I just mentioned Canada, but obviously big companies like, the team in this area is doing a push on this. So and as you know, we make sure the ads only run in the area where it matters. So Audible Canada's doing a push. Those ads run in Canada. Some big US brands are like, great, but we don't need to advertise in Australia. Great, well, we'll flick the switch and it'll only go to the US audience. And we do a lot of host reads. We do a lot of social videos in studio, but also out of studio. And it's sort of fun because it's, I don't know if you've heard the saying, like the freedom of a tight brief, but we love a challenge. Here's the product, here's the message, put it into the Toni and Ryan world and off you go. And yeah, it's worked out really well.
When you think too about, I think you've kind of mentioned kind of like the foundational elements of advertising within your show, but you've also done amazing, huge, bigger brand activations too. Yep. I think you were talking about Menu Log last night, or kind of incorporating those live events with the...
I know you're all probably from a different town that I'm from, but where you're from, did you guys have like movie marathons when you were younger? Like you'd go to the cinema and watch so... Toni's mum wouldn't let her go to a movie marathon because it was always where the naughty teenagers would go and make out in the back, and so she was never allowed to go to a movie marathon. And so Paramount Plus said, oh, you know, we're going to run some ads, but we'd like to do something a bit different. And so we bought out a whole cinema, and Toni, at age 30, finally got to do her movie marathon. And so we went through the whole Paramount Plus back catalogue. We picked about 10 movies and then let the tarpers vote on the top 3 or what's the theme. So we had the cinema, we had the Paramount Plus boxed popcorn. Yeah. We were wearing these big, do you say hoodies in the US? Like those big hooded blankets. So they were Paramount Plus branded, and I think 30 or 40 tarpers got to spend 10 hours with us because everyone voted for the long ones. And we spent a whole day there together, and it ends up being 5 or 6 social videos, a big YouTube video. It looked really great. But there was also probably 3 weeks of build up, choosing the movies, choosing the popcorn, what drinks are we gonna get? And so that actually won a few awards in Australia. And for us, that's not like, oh, we have to like do an advertising thing. That was like really fun because we're probably, we would because we are terrible with money, but a lot of people aren't going to buy a cinema just to, I just paid for 2 bays of the cricket. I probably would do that. But I think the brands give you the opportunity to do big fun things that you might not be able to do. And so that's our mindset rather than we have to do a thing to pay the bills. So
yeah, I love that. I think that's such a good example too of kind of the creativity that you're putting into all these different campaigns as well. Knowing that there are probably a good amount of US-based brands and advertisers in the audience today, like, is there anything that you would want to tell them, especially about like a Australian podcast that has such a huge following in the US in particular, and any of the misconceptions that maybe come with?
I think just what we were saying before, like we have a very, what was our, you know more than me, the 700,000?
700,000.
Each month in the US?
Growing every day.
Growing every day. So we can advertise, so someone said, I won't out them, but I'll go and say hello to them after this, but they were like, oh, we're not available for sale in Australia, so we don't really see the need to advertise on an Australian podcast. And I was like, well, there's 700,000 people in the US that might want your product, and we can just flick the switch so you don't waste your media spend in Australia. And so just the fact that we have a large audience here, and with the Acast technology, we can hyper focus on where, to the point where, let's put you on the spot. I know in Australia we can actually go state-based. So with the women's football, for instance, in Western Australia, there'll be a host read saying, this week in Western Australia, the West Coast Eagles are playing this, but in Victoria, the ad will be for the Victorian game this week. Right. And so we can actually
hyper-targeting.
Hyper-target. And so we've got a big audience over here in the US, and they trust us, they love us, so and we love being creative. So that's my spiel.
Oh, that's a great spiel. I think we have about 8 minutes left for audience questions. I think I see one hand over there if we want to kick off.
There we go.
The doc. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to know, because, okay, there's a lot of creators in the room that may have their podcast from year 1, year 5, year 7, and it can be exhausting after, a certain amount of time. Can you talk a little bit about some of the shifts that you made year to year that have helped you see the success that you have today?
Yep. So just if everyone, I don't know if you could hear, it's just how you can hear. Okay, we've got confirmation we could hear that question. Great.
Headphones are on.
It's how not to burn out essentially, because it's really hard. Yeah. So we get a lot of opportunities that are distractions, right? And so I think a lot of influencer creator types have really, really awesome 3-year careers because and then we did a live show and we did a book and I'm going on this reality show and like. I got to say yes because I don't know how long my moment's going to last for, but we decided we would rather have, instead of awesome 3 years, we would rather have a really solid 20. And so we get offered to do, this sounds like a humble brag, but it's not, like Amazing Race Australia, and they go, oh, yeah, it's only 6 weeks and all good, and I go, but I work for the Tarpers, what are they going to do for 6 weeks? Do you want to do a stage tour? No, speaking with you guys is fine because I love podcasting, but like how terrifying to speak in front of people. I don't want to go on a tour. And so it's a very unsexy word to say like discipline, but our way of like going is just saying, well, we're both, Toni and I, really committed to this show and really committed to the TARP community. And does this opportunity serve the TARP community in our show? Or is it a thing that in 3 weeks we're going to go, oh, we said we'd do that thing, so... And so the answer is just by being lame and saying no and staying home a fair bit and not doing too many of these. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
We've got another question over here. So we're putting the pressure on this guy to run around.
Running through.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. So, trying to convert from your podcast to social media, we do, like you said, we take it to an editor and they just throw it on social media, and that's what we use. And there's normally highlights from our podcast. Can you speak to some other creative ways that we can actually have the content that is just not directly coming from the podcast, but incorporates everything that we're doing?
Yeah, so we've started doing a little bit more like behind the scenes type stuff, which people really value seeing. And like, for me, I always thought that was a bit self-indulgent, and I was like, oh no, I just want to make these beautiful crisp reels and like let it be showbiz. But I think people really want to understand, where do you sit? What does the couch look like in the room? How does it go about? The trick though is you still have to make those ones fun and entertaining. And then, like I said before, I'd put a bit of thought into the reels before you start recording the podcast episode, because the editor, yep, you asked for 3 and that to be 40 seconds. Here you go. I hope that's fine. We're like just being really intentional. Like, oh, I know this bit's going to be a moment. So instead of saying, so as I was saying, I'll set it up with a sentence. So, because I know when editing the reel later, I want that really crisp sentence at the start to like be the hook. And it's, having said that, if you could watch our podcast, you could probably see me editing reels in real time, no pun intended, but you just know that, oh, I need that juicy sentence. Tony's going to have this big reaction. Okay, instead of, we had fun for 30 minutes, hopefully some other guy can figure out a reel. Yeah, so I guess it's just being very intentional in what they want, and especially if they want a comedy podcast that's chaotic, make sure your reels are comedic and chaotic. If they're trying to learn about real estate, make sure you teach me something about real estate in the first 4 seconds. If you're trying to sell me something, that's fine, but like, tell me what you're selling and why I want to buy it. So just, I guess, a bit intentional is always helpful. And I've always found a little bit more thought is never a bad thing to give something. So yeah, just got one down here.
Hello, good afternoon. So in my experience, viral content doesn't always convert to listeners. So are there specific things you do to ensure that the thousands of people who see your content actually go on the platforms to listen to the podcast?
My answer to that is actually no, because I think like it's not our job to play God, as in like, if you open TikTok, I respect that you want to stay on TikTok, and nothing annoys me more than I open up Instagram and someone goes, go to YouTube. I'm like, fuck you, I chose Instagram. Don't tell me what to do. And so I think you got to like respect the people where they are. But I think in my mind, you see a funny viral clip and you go, that's funny. You see another one from the same people. I reckon that's like the 3rd or 4th time where you see the same people and you go, hang on, what is this show? Who are these guys? And so the one viral clip, you might not get that 2nd, 3rd or 4th chance to put your face in front of them. And I think after 3 or 4, they might start following you on TikTok, and then that might be their gateway to sample the podcast. And if they sample the podcast, that might be their gateway to be a podcast regular. But I think, yeah, one viral moment is fun, but it doesn't change much. It's like, some people go viral and they panic. I'm like, what's the next video? Like, keep pumping it out. And so 82% of our podcast listening, they found us via short form video. So 82% from short form video. And we've never ever, or at least in the first 3 years, said on a short video, go listen to the podcast. Like, we never even mentioned it. Because I think you see someone with a microphone in a studio, they'll figure out it's a podcast. It's in the link. I think people are smarter than we might give them credit for. So my answer is like, we don't have a strategy to convert it. We just let it play out. Yep.
I think we have time for one more.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Great. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
So I'm brand new to the podcasting space. So my question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to a podcaster starting at ground zero?
Reply to the comments. And I think, and it's not just about the comments, it's more like if someone has spent 3 minutes of their life watching a clip and commenting and putting their effort into, like, the least I can do as someone trying to grow a podcast is reply back. And I think whether that's replying just to a comment or on the next episode, giving them a shout out, because it's like don't know if contagious is the right word, but people start hearing other comments and they go, oh, so if I comment, I might get read out next time. And it's like a real ego thing. But if you think your name's going to get read out on a podcast, like you're totally going to listen, hey? So I think if you start like honoring, so someone, oh, I want to get this big audience, but I only got one comment. Did you reply to that comment? Did you juice that person right up? Did you follow them back? So I think if you treat them really, really well and give them a really great experience, and that sounds funny to say experience because we're just like doing podcasts, but if we treat the small amount of people we have really, really well, like the word will spread and they'll get value out of it. So my advice would be like, if you've only got one listener, like just give them the best fucking day of their life. Yeah. I reckon we've got one more.
Yeah. 30 seconds. No pressure.
Right
over there.
No pressure. Can everyone else see that clock? It's like a shot clock in basketball. It's so stressful.
It's like 24. I'm like...
I'm curious what drives you now. Like, what's your goal now after finding all this success?
Well, we've only just started on YouTube every day for like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we're kind of like, oh shit, like we're starting now. Like it doesn't feel like we've made it. Every time I mean, you know what it's like in life. You figure out one problem and the next problem arises and, oh, we've done okay at that. Oh, well, we got to figure out this next one now. So I think, like there's always something new to think about and worry about. And second of all, like I never want to fucking work again. So as in like I don't want to go get a job. So my inspiration is to not have to go get a job. And I have a 2-year-old daughter, so I've got 16 more years and college to pay for. So I'm all in. So yeah. Although I will give a more serious answer though. Is that we actually really like doing it. And that sounds like a bit cliche, but for me, my favorite day of the week is on Wednesdays. There's no meetings, no one goes, and it's like I'm preparing the podcast. I'm reading all the normal or nahs. I'm picking my favorite ones. I'm thinking, oh, that one's a bit of a sexy question, so I'll put a wholesome one up. Like I love actually doing it. And I think where some people get stuck is they think, oh, I can make some money and a bit of fame and how good's this? But like then after a while, it starts to feel tough because you don't actually love doing the thing. So I'm like, I love doing the production, I love writing, I love making the thing. And so, and even the topic your podcast is on, if you're really interested in that topic, you're going to naturally want to talk about it. Whereas if you think, oh, there's a gap in the market for fishing and I went and did a fishing podcast even though I don't love it, but the marketing guy said it was a good area, that's where you're going to get stuck, I reckon. So if you actually like doing it, that'll be real helpful. We're getting wrapped up? Oh no, you've got a question. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so I'm giving a live show at 6 p.m. US Eastern time here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for co-hosts, and my show is syndicated worldwide to 300 million listeners. So I would request you if you are available.
I've just been, the question was, can I go on her podcast tonight? Sorry, I'm flying to Fiji. That's actually not a joke. I am flying to Fiji straight from here. In my bag, I have conference clothes, plane clothes, and a Speedo. Yeah, thank you. So our team said if we went on a cheaper airline as a team, we can use the difference to stay in Fiji for a few days. So our whole team and my wife and daughter are in Fiji. So thank you for the offer, and I will next time. And also, if anyone sees me in the next few hours, if you're a tarper, come and say hi. And if a friend is a tarper, come and say hi, and I'll make a video, and we'll make them real jealous.
Perfect.
Wait.
That's a
Also,
better place as any to stop.
Right.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.